A Dalton home that she leased to Mayor Tiffany Henyard has filed eviction papers. She says Henyard has not paid her rent, and now she wants her.
South suburban politician Tiffany Henyard appears to have lost control of.
Once celebrated as a trailblazer and the first black female mayor of Dalton, Tiffany Henyard's journey has taken a dramatic and shocking turn from historic achievement to scandal-ridden notoriety. Facing mounting allegations of corruption, financial misconduct, and misuse of taxpayer funds, her grip on power in the small Illinois town is slipping, and her political career is on the brink of collapse. What began as a promising tenure has spiraled into a spectacle of mismanagement, extravagant personal spending, and escalating legal troubles that have left the community in turmoil. At the heart of the controversy are Henyard's alleged use of town funds for personal gain, including lavish expenditures on luxury hotels, first-class flights, and questionable purchases that have outraged Dalton residents. One of the most shocking revelations was a reported $43,000 Amazon shopping spree in a single day, while other reports highlight a $10,000 stay at Atlanta's Four Seasons Hotel. As these allegations mount, trustees have scrambled to salvage the town's finances, but the damage is extensive, and the town's infrastructure, services, and debt have all suffered as a result of her actions. Despite the weight of the accusations, Henyard remains defiant, refusing to cooperate with investigations or support efforts to bring accountability to Dalton's finances. Her combative approach, which includes vetoing measures to hire external auditors and blocking attempts to impose stricter spending limits, has further paralyzed the town's leadership. Public frustration has reached a boiling point, with packed town hall meetings, protests, and social media campaigns demanding her resignation. Yet Henyard continues to frame herself as a misunderstood leader under attack, promoting herself as the town's super mayor and insisting that she is a champion of the people. Henyard's bizarre behavior in public appearances has only fueled the growing discontent. At a town meeting, she reportedly arrived with a golden microphone, and at another, a DJ played Rihanna's "Be*******H Better Have My Money" while she addressed the room, leaving residents wondering if she truly understood the gravity of the situation. Her increasingly erratic actions and refusal to acknowledge the seriousness of the allegations have alienated many, while trustees, once her allies, have become her most vocal critics. Tensions have intensified, and speculation about Henyard's potential escape is growing. Rumors swirl that she may attempt to flee before facing legal consequences, particularly given her reduced public appearances and silence on critical issues. The FBI's increasing focus on tracking her whereabouts has only heightened these suspicions, adding to the uncertainty surrounding her future. Her alleged connections to her deputy police chief, L.S. Lacey, who was recently indicted on bankruptcy fraud charges, have further fueled concerns that the financial misconduct may run deeper than previously thought. Lacey's indictment has raised questions about whether Henyard is planning a last-ditch effort to hold on to her position or escape before legal action can catch up with her. Local trustees have taken steps to curb Henyard's power. They have revoked her access to town credit cards, imposed stricter spending limits, and initiated an independent investigation into her financial activities. However, these efforts have been met with fierce resistance from Henyard, who has blocked any attempts to bring in outside oversight. Her refusal to cooperate has left the town's leadership gridlocked, and the financial strain on Dalton continues to worsen. With crumbling infrastructure and the possibility of missed payroll for public employees, trustees are urgently working on drafting an emergency budget. But their efforts have been hindered by Henyard's continued resistance. The fallout from Henyard's actions has become a bitter political and personal drama that has left Dalton on the brink of collapse. The FBI's investigation is intensifying, and residents are watching closely, hoping for justice to prevail. While the timeline for legal action remains uncertain, it is clear that Henyard's time in office may soon come to an end. The question remains whether she will face accountability before she has a chance to flee, or if the community will have to endure further turmoil before the full extent of her alleged actions is revealed. As the investigation continues and public pressure mounts, the future of Dalton hangs in the balance. The wheels of justice are in motion, and the residents of Dalton are anxiously waiting to see how this dramatic saga will unfold.
She's teasing a big announcement that she claims will result in some of her opponents being arrested and charged.
In 2021, Tiffany Henyard made history as the first African-American woman to be elected mayor of Dalton, a milestone that inspired hope and optimism across the community. Her victory was seen as a new beginning for the town, one that promised economic reform, community-driven projects, and better management of Dalton's long-standing issues. Residents were energized by the prospect of a leader who represented their values and aspirations, and Henyard's platform, which emphasized safety improvements, enhanced public services, and a commitment to serving the people, resonated deeply. For a time, it seemed like Henyard was living up to those promises, and her popularity surged, however. Just 2 years into her administration, Henyard's tenure took a dramatic and disturbing turn. What began as a hopeful journey devolved into a chaotic saga of allegations, lawsuits, and reckless spending that seemed more like a reality TV drama than the workings of local government. Accusations of financial mismanagement became routine, and her administration became mired in controversy. Her defiance in the face of mounting evidence alienated her from the very people who had once supported her. By 2022, rumors of fiscal mismanagement had grown louder. Residents and local leaders began noticing that Henyard seemed more focused on her personal interests than on the needs of Dalton. The situation worsened when she assumed the role of supervisor of Thornton Township, giving her control over 2 local governmental bodies. Instead of using her expanded position to foster positive change, Henyard found herself at odds with trustees from both Dalton and Thornton Township, who accused her of corruption and reckless spending. Reports surfaced of questionable financial decisions, including extravagant purchases, excessive travel costs, and a lack of transparency in the town's budgeting process. These mounting allegations led to open clashes between Henyard and Dalton's trustees, who accused her of bankrupting the town. Trustees from Thornton Township expressed similar grievances, leading to rumors that Henyard had become a rogue leader, once celebrated for her potential but now tarnished by corruption. Her ambitious plans for transformation were overshadowed by the growing controversy, leaving many to question where it all went wrong as public scrutiny intensified. Henyard's response was one of bold defiance. Instead of addressing the allegations directly, she framed herself as the victim of a coordinated smear campaign. In a dramatic live broadcast, she declared, "I will be seeking arrest for individuals involved. I will be pressing charges," positioning herself as the target of political sabotage. Despite overwhelming evidence of financial misconduct, millions of taxpayer dollars unaccounted for, and a ballooning public debt, Henyard insisted that her critics were part of a conspiracy to ruin her reputation. This narrative of victimhood resonated with her remaining supporters, but did little to quell the growing outrage among Dalton's residents. They watched as their town spiraled into crisis, with crumbling streets, cutbacks to public services, and a mounting deficit. The central question on everyone's mind was, where did all the money go? The situation was made worse by Henyard's increasingly controversial decisions and behavior. Instead of addressing the town's financial woes, she adopted a larger-than-life persona, referring to herself as Super Mayor and using billboards, social media, and public appearances to promote her image. Her conduct often seemed tone-deaf to the struggles facing Dalton, such as when she appeared at meetings with a golden microphone or used public events to flaunt her self-proclaimed invincibility. These actions alienated even her most loyal supporters, making it harder to defend her as the situation deteriorated in response to the growing crisis. Dalton's trustees scrambled to impose spending limits, revoke Henyard's access to municipal funds, and restore some order to the town's finances. But Henyard fought back, using her veto power to block efforts at accountability and delaying any attempts to address the town's financial disarray. Her refusal to cooperate only reinforced the perception that she saw herself as above the law as the allegations mounted. Henyard's role as mayor became increasingly untenable. Legal battles over financial misconduct and conflicts of interest began to take shape, and speculation about her intentions grew. Henyard missed key meetings, limited her public appearances, and became more reclusive. Many residents and political observers began to wonder whether she was plotting an escape to avoid facing the consequences of her actions. Others questioned whether she truly grasped the severity of the situation, as her increasingly erratic behavior made it difficult to discern her priorities. What had once been a cause for celebration, the election of Dalton's first black female mayor, had turned into a bitter disappointment for many residents. Feelings of betrayal and anger were widespread as the community watched the town's finances spiral out of control. The situation reached a breaking point when the FBI launched an investigation into Henyard's administration, signaling that her claims of being untouchable might soon come to an end as the legal and political drama unfolded. Dalton's future seemed uncertain. While Henyard's defiant stance may have earned her some temporary support, the mounting pressure from both the public and law enforcement suggested that the end of her controversial tenure was near.
Tiffany Henyard's landlord, and she says she came to this Thornton Township meeting Tuesday night hoping to get paid, or what she says she...
The spending allegations against Tiffany Henyard have painted a damning picture of a mayor who is accused of misusing public funds, leaving Dalton residents both disillusioned and enraged. As the town grapples with unpaid vendors, crumbling infrastructure, and a deepening financial crisis, Henyard's extravagant expenditures have sparked widespread outrage. The contrast between Dalton's struggles and her lavish lifestyle is both glaring and infuriating, for many reports suggest that Henyard has routinely indulged in luxury expenses, treating public money as her personal bank account. Allegations reveal that she has spent thousands of dollars on first-class flights, high-end hotels, and fine dining with little to no benefit for the town. For example, during a trip to New York, Henyard and her team reportedly stayed at the luxurious Marriott Marquis in Times Square, running up a bill exceeding $113,000. Similarly, on a trip to Atlanta, Henyard allegedly stayed at the Four Seasons Hotel, racking up expenses totaling $9,000. These high-end expenditures further cement her reputation for opulence at the expense of Dalton taxpayers, but the questionable spending doesn't stop there. Multiple sources suggest that Henyard frequently indulged in extravagant meals and fine dining experiences, all funded by Dalton's taxpayers. These revelations have struck a nerve with residents who are already facing the harsh reality of a town struggling with limited resources, while their mayor appears to be living in unchecked excess. As these allegations have come to light, public outrage has intensified. Many are questioning not only the ethics of such behavior, but also the priorities of a leader who promised to put the community first. As Dalton continues to grapple with unpaid debts and deteriorating public services, Henyard's lavish spending has left a bitter taste in the mouths of residents, fueling demands for accountability and systemic change to prevent further misuse of public funds. Residents, already burdened by the town's economic struggles, are now confronted with the indignity of knowing that their contributions to the town's coffers may have been squandered on personal luxuries. The image of a mayor enjoying the trappings of wealth, while the community she vowed to serve is left to pick up the pieces, has only deepened the sense of betrayal. The weight of these allegations has not only exacerbated the financial strain on Dalton, but also eroded public trust in the office meant to protect and uplift the community. Henyard's reported spending habits symbolize a gross disregard for the sacrifices and struggles of her constituents. These actions have intensified calls for her to answer for her transgressions in a town already reeling from financial hardship, further shaking the faith of Dalton residents in their leadership.
Have to pay a special process server in order to get them served, which is...
Mayor Tiffany Henyard has defended her lavish spending, claiming that expenses such as luxury hotel stays, first-class travel, and fine dining are vital investments to foster economic development and build key relationships that will benefit Dalton in the long run. However, the town's grim financial reality tells a starkly different story, leaving residents increasingly skeptical and disillusioned. Dalton's general fund, which once had a healthy balance of over $5 million, has reportedly plunged into a deficit of around $3 million under Henyard's leadership. This dramatic reversal has raised alarms as overdue vendor payments and unpaid checks continue to pile up, worsening the town's already fragile financial situation. While Henyard insists that her expenditures are essential for the town's future, many in the community see them as unnecessary and reckless, especially given Dalton's dire economic state. Critics argue that the mayor's claims of investing in Dalton's future do not align with the visible neglect of its current needs. From declining public services to crumbling infrastructure, residents who initially supported Henyard with optimism are now questioning her priorities and judgment. They struggle to reconcile her assertions of strategic spending with the worsening condition of their town's finances. Instead of seeing the promised benefits of these investments, the community is burdened by a financial crisis that seems to have deepened due to her questionable fiscal choices. Many Dalton residents are at a loss as to how their mayor can justify such extravagant expenditures, while the town faces a ballooning deficit and delayed payments to vendors who are essential for maintaining basic services. The financial turmoil has not only eroded trust in Henyard's leadership, but has also intensified frustration among those who hoped her administration would bring stability, transparency, and tangible improvements to the community. Critics point to the widening gap between Henyard's rhetoric and the harsh realities faced by her constituents, who are growing increasingly vocal in demanding accountability. While the mayor continues to frame her spending as a necessary part of securing Dalton's future, the immediate impact of her decisions suggests otherwise. The town's finances are buckling under the weight of what many perceive as self-serving choices, rather than the strategic investments promised by Henyard. The current financial disarray, coupled with the lack of visible benefits from these alleged investments, has left residents feeling demoralized. The once promising image of Henyard as a trailblazing leader has been overshadowed by the controversies surrounding her tenure. Her approach to leadership now seems to prioritize optics over tangible outcomes, leaving Dalton residents questioning how their town reached this point and what it will take to reverse the damage as financial instability deepens. Many fear that without a significant shift in governance and fiscal responsibility, the town's future will remain uncertain. With challenges growing more severe by the day, Dalton citizens are left grappling with the profound disconnect between the mayor's narrative of progress and the harsh reality of an administration mired in debt and mistrust. They are now waiting for answers, accountability, and a clear path forward to restore faith in their leadership.
Tonight, as another board meeting got canceled because of a lack of a quorum.
That came after a disagreement about where to hold the meeting, as trustees expressed concerns for their...
Mayor Tiffany Henyard's financial controversies extend beyond the already troubling allegations of public fund mismanagement. Personal financial struggles have added a deeply personal and public dimension to the growing scandal surrounding her leadership, further eroding her reputation. Recently, Henyard's landlord, Jada Hall, publicly accused the mayor and her boyfriend, K.L. Woods, of failing to pay rent for several months on a property they have been occupying. This claim has amplified the concerns about her financial responsibility, adding a personal layer to the unfolding drama of her leadership. Hall, who once considered herself a friend of Henyard, expressed frustration and disbelief, stating that her repeated attempts to collect overdue rent payments have been met with silence. The situation took an even more astonishing turn when Henyard allegedly changed the locks on Hall's property, effectively barring Hall from accessing her own home. This development raises alarming questions, particularly given Henyard's reported annual income of over $300,000 from her dual roles as mayor of Dalton and supervisor of Thornton Township. For a public figure with such a substantial income to find herself embroiled in a personal financial debacle is a stark contradiction that adds fuel to the growing public outrage. Hall was candid in her remarks to the media, highlighting the glaring inconsistency between Henyard's considerable earnings and her apparent inability to fulfill basic financial obligations, like paying rent. Hall called Henyard's behavior indicative of deeper issues, questioning how someone who struggles to manage personal finances could be trusted to steward a town grappling with fiscal instability. This personal financial scandal casts yet another shadow over Henyard's administration, which has already been plagued by accusations of extravagant spending, poor decision-making, and the misuse of taxpayer dollars. It only intensifies concerns that Henyard's personal approach to financial management mirrors the lack of accountability alleged in her public role. Reports about Henyard's lavish use of public funds have circulated for months, detailing her spending on luxury flights, high-end hotel stays, and extravagant dining, all while Dalton faces a financial crisis. The town's general fund, which once had a healthy surplus of $5 million, has plunged into the red with a reported deficit of $3 million. The town also struggles with overdue vendor contracts and a drained budget, making it increasingly difficult to maintain basic public services. The disconnect between Henyard's claims of working in the best interest of the town and the harsh realities of Dalton's deteriorating financial condition has caused many residents to see her personal eviction controversy as an extension of her broader leadership failings for Dalton residents already grappling with inadequate infrastructure, delayed public services, and a community burdened by debt. The idea that their mayor might be failing to meet even personal financial obligations is both frustrating and infuriating. Critics view this latest controversy as another example of Henyard's failure or refusal to operate with transparency, accountability, and a sense of duty to the people she was elected to serve. The narrative of irresponsibility that now surrounds her is compounded by numerous reports detailing how, despite her substantial salary, Henyard has consistently prioritized personal comfort and luxury over the welfare of her constituents. Community members who have spoken out about their concerns point to this mounting pattern of questionable decisions and controversies. For many, Henyard's financial mismanagement, both professional and personal, reflects a leadership style driven by self-interest rather than public service. Hull's accusations have only further fueled these frustrations, transforming the issue from one of political mismanagement to one that also implicates Henyard's personal character. Adding to the complexity of the situation are Henyard's recent public statements, in which she portrays herself as a victim of conspiracy and smear campaigns. She has repeatedly deflected accountability for her actions, claiming that her critics are merely trying to undermine her leadership. She often uses rhetoric that casts her as a defender of the community, under attack from political adversaries. However, as more evidence of financial mismanagement, both in her official capacity and at home, continues to surface, these claims are becoming increasingly difficult for the public to take seriously. Critics and commentators have noted that Henyard's public attempts to defend herself seem increasingly disconnected from the pressing realities facing Dalton. Residents feel increasingly betrayed by a leader who promised reform and renewal, only to bring scandal and instability to the town. The eviction controversy, though perhaps less sensational than some other aspects of her tenure, encapsulates the erosion of trust in Henyard's ability to serve as a responsible steward of public resources. It underscores the growing belief among Dalton residents that their mayor is not living up to the high standards of leadership that were promised, leaving the community to question not just her fitness for office, but her personal integrity. As well as the controversy continues to unfold, it only deepens the disillusionment felt by Dalton's residents, who are left wondering if their town will ever recover from the financial and ethical turmoil brought on by their mayor's leadership.
Landlord showed up here to see her tenant in person after she says Henyard has been dodging both her and rent payments for months.
Mayor Tiffany Henyard's controversial leadership has escalated to alarming new heights as allegations of financial mismanagement and misuse of public resources continue to swirl around her administration. Reports have surfaced indicating that local police officers have been used as her personal security detail, with some officers reportedly following her around during public events and even private gatherings. The use of police for such personal protection has sparked outrage among Dalton residents who wonder why officers, who should be patrolling the streets, are instead shadowing the mayor. In some cases, these officers are said to have accrued significant overtime pay while on security duty for Henyard, further aggravating the situation, adding fuel to the fire. Former Dalton Police Chief Robert Collins has come forward with claims that Henyard instructed officers to issue tickets to individuals she perceived as political threats. These allegations paint a troubling picture of a mayor who appears to be using her power not only for personal gain, but also to control and intimidate her political opponents. Critics argue that this behavior is emblematic of a larger pattern of corruption and abuse of power, with Henyard's actions revealing a focus on self-interest rather than serving the needs of her community. Despite the mounting accusations, Henyard has remained defiant. On numerous occasions, she has claimed that she is the target of discrimination due to her position as a black woman in power. She asserts that the criticism directed at her is not based on her alleged transgressions, but on racial prejudice. Henyard has repeatedly called on women, particularly women of color, to support her in what she describes as an unfair persecution campaign against her. She often portrays herself as a resilient figure, fighting for her political survival in the face of adversity, and urges the black community to unite in her defense. While some of Henyard's supporters may buy into this narrative, many others in the community view it as a tactic to avoid accountability. Critics argue that Henyard is using identity politics to deflect attention from her alleged mismanagement and ethical failures. They point out that her status as a powerful black woman should have no bearing on how she manages public funds or addresses personal financial difficulties. One of Henyard's fiercest critics, Trustee Jason House, made it clear that the issue was not about race but about leadership. "We're not saying police aren't doing a good job. We're saying you're assigning all of them to be with you when they should be out here protecting the residents so we can all feel safe," adding to the tension. Henyard's landlord, Jada Hall, publicly accused the mayor and her boyfriend, K.L. Woods, of failing to pay rent for several months. Hall, who had considered Henyard a friend, expressed frustration over the situation, stating that her repeated efforts to collect overdue payments had been ignored. The situation reached a boiling point when Henyard allegedly changed the locks on Hall's property, barring Hall from accessing her own home. This personal financial debacle, combined with Henyard's growing list of public controversies, has led to a deepening crisis of trust among Dalton residents. At a town hall meeting, Henyard was met with boos and jeers from the crowd, with many of her once enthusiastic supporters now viewing her as a source of conflict and frustration. Dalton's own trustees have joined the growing chorus of critics, filing lawsuits against Henyard for allegedly concealing crucial financial records and falsifying checks. Henyard continues to deny any wrongdoing, but the mounting legal challenges and negative publicity are increasingly difficult to ignore as the legal and political pressure mounts. The FBI has reportedly launched an investigation into Henyard's administration. This federal probe marks a dramatic turn for a mayor who once presented herself as a super mayor and a protector of the people. The investigation, which centers on allegations of financial mismanagement and corruption, is a far cry from the image Henyard has tried so hard to project. Former supporters who once praised her dedication to the town are now questioning whether she is more focused on preserving her own power and lifestyle than actually serving Dalton. Despite the growing storm surrounding her, Henyard has announced her intention to run for re-election, publicly declaring, "I am running for re-election for mayor of Dalton." Her campaign message is clear. She is not going down without a fight. However, with her campaign committee showing no recent contributions or expenses, it remains unclear how she plans to fund her election bid amid a mounting scandal and federal investigation. The situation is increasingly bizarre. Henyard is facing serious allegations and the possibility of criminal charges, yet she continues to present herself as a victim of an elaborate conspiracy. Her supporters and detractors alike are growing weary of her defiance and rhetoric. One fan commented online, "The narcissism, hypocrisy, and gaslighting coming from Tiff is incredible. She doesn't know when to stop." Reflecting the general frustration with her leadership style, public reaction has turned overwhelmingly negative. Henyard, once hailed as a trailblazing leader, now finds herself at the center of a political and legal quagmire. Her refusal to step down, despite the ongoing investigations and widespread public outcry, has only deepened the sense of betrayal felt by Dalton's residents. The mayor's once promising tenure has become a source of embarrassment for the community. She was elected to serve. The questions now swirling around Henyard's future are whether she will continue to cling to power or if the weight of the legal challenges and public outrage will finally push her out of office. Many Dalton residents are left wondering if the town will ever recover from the financial and political turmoil caused by her leadership. As the legal battle intensifies, the town's fate remains uncertain, and Henyard's next move will likely determine whether she can salvage any remnants of her once promising political career.